Hello, welcome back to Dr. Introspect TV, and it's your host, Dr. Introspect, and I'm back. And you probably saw me before, and you're seeing me again, and or maybe you are just seeing me now, and you see me later. Yes, I shot both videos on the same day, but I am back. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to let you know that I am back. So, without further ado, I am going to jump straight into this analysis, and I am going to be talking about, as you can tell from the title, Anna Sorkin, or as you may know her, Anna Delvey. People are saying that this is the fraudulent generation, the fake age, the age of everything and everyone fake. And this is probably how this generation might go down in history, in a time of fake lovers, aka Simon, fake companies, fake jobs, and fake heiresses. And I am going to be talking about the latter. Fake heiresses, none other than Miss Anna Sorkin, aka Anna Delvey. Now, if you don't know who Anna Delvey is, maybe you are living under a rock, or you don't watch television, or you don't follow social media, or you don't have friends. Either case, it's fine. You'll be able to follow through with this analysis as I go through it. So, a little backstory on Anna. Not so much her history or anything, but just enough to frame this analysis as we go forth. Anna is a 25-year-old, or was at the time a 25-year-old Russian girl masquerading as a German heiress in the United States of America. Anna was able to swindle private individuals, people that you would consider as heirs or heiresses themselves, wealthy people of high state New York, as well as corporations like banks of several hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the question on a lot of people's minds by the time they get through this whole story is, could Anna have done it after all, or was she just unlucky? Did she really swindle these people? So I think by the time we're done with this analysis, you come to your own conclusions in the end, and we will talk about it. But there are some topics I want to cover, and if you see me looking down, I'm just looking at my trusty notes per usual, and there's some areas I want to cover that I felt were discussed. So I am going to be referencing the Netflix docu-series kind of story called Reinventing Anna, and you guys can go and watch it yourselves so you can have your own take and be able to follow in this discussion. But in Reinventing Anna, Netflix has disclaimers here and there on the show where they say parts of it are true and parts of it are not true. So I don't know what parts are true or not true. I do know that there are some characters that it's not their exact names. For example, Vivian, the reporter, it's not really Vivian. The real person's name isn't Vivian, and that real person, it wasn't the exact same kind of dynamics that are portrayed in the show that happened in real life. So just keep that in mind. And I guess I have to make that disclaimer as well. I wasn't there when any of these happened to Anna. I'm just going off what Netflix told us. And as usual, some things might be sensationalized a little to get people talking, to get viewers, to get hits, all that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. My analysis is just based off what I saw on Netflix. With the things I saw on Netflix, they're like 8 key areas. I know 8 is a lot, but I felt like these are the main areas that I want to discuss about. And I have to say, in the way the story was being told, there's a kind of sympathy you almost feel for Anna. And I'm going to talk about why such feelings might arise, especially if you fall into the kind of groups that are being tugged on, like your heartstrings are being pulled. You probably somehow see yourself in Anna in some kind of way, and you might be able to relate to it. And by that, I'm talking about women, minority groups. For example, if you're an immigrant, you're trying to find your way in a new country, and you feel Like it's quite the struggle if you are a minority group in a space, for example, women in technology. If if you're just a new person, you're an entry level job seeker, and you're trying to find your way, a lot of these aspects of the storytelling might pull on your heartstrings that you might relate to it a bit. So the first part I want to talk about, of course, is women in business. And by business, I mean like women business owners, and of course women that are trying to start up their own companies themselves, that are seeking funding. And if you're in any way familiar with that literature, you would understand that there is a huge divide between the funding amounts that men receive versus the amounts that women receive, as well as the number of female CEOs in Fortune 500 companies, multinational companies. There are a lot fewer. So that struggle is definitely there. And in that circumstance, women are like the minorities in that situation. And that opens a whole new paradigm of conversation with how people perceive women, not the same way they perceive men, and they are less likely to be taken seriously. And this was something that Anna played upon on as she manipulated people in her schemes. More on her manipulation later. But she did this, and this was also an area that I think Vivian could really empathize with, because there's a lot of this conversation about how men and women can commit the same crimes, but women are not shown as much mercy or grace. The man and a woman can do the same thing. The man not only gets a slap on the wrist, but he could get promoted. And we saw it happen literally with her colleague, Vivian being the reporter, and Vivian, of course, being blackballed and being publicly shamed. And they liken Anna's story to the case of like CEOs of these big national companies that do illegal things, and they get bonuses, they get all kinds of rewards for it. And here's Anna going to jail, probably doing something that many other men have done, and by no means served anywhere as close to time that she served or got the same kind of punishment. So in that regard, it seems pretty unfair, although a crime is still a crime, but then consequence should still be the same. But that is not the world we live in. Also, there's also these aspect of women not being taken as seriously as men. Vivian hints at this in her storytelling and in her writing of the story, and we see that depicted in the show as well. We see Anna having to reinvent herself, change her hair to a certain color, change her style, starts walking around in fake prescription glasses to create this image of someone that you can take more seriously. And there are many other men, you can think of men in Silicon Valley, startup companies that have unorthodox styles, haircuts, all kinds of things, and they are still more likely to get funded for their business projects, even if their ideas are not as revolutionary as that of Anna. So Anna also had the whole ageism against her. So one, you're a woman, we can't take you seriously, you can't sit on the table, you can't sit with us. And then you're young, of course we can't take you seriously, you don't know anything. And what, you walk around dressed like that? No, so that's definitely something that was portrayed here, and I think a lot of people can relate to. Maybe if you're a woman in academia, you feel the pressure to look a certain way to be taken seriously. Let me know in the comments if you relate in any way to those aspects of the story. Now, we cannot talk about this without talk about how women interact with each other or one another in this kind of spaces. So in situations where there is like just one seat at the table, you see that happen a lot with minority groups, with race. There's like just one seat at a table. So those minority groups might be at odds with each other because they find that they're competing for that same little space when it's supposed to be equal opportunity for all. And in that kind of space, there might be something like gatekeeping, where women kind of gatekeep the kind of women they feel that are allowed to see in that space with them, because they feel this sense of obligation to present themselves a certain way and make sure that they are allowing people that fit into that criteria to join that group. And so it takes us to this whole idea of women supporting women. And a lot of people believe that this is a sham, this is fake. Women don't really support each other, they just pull each other down. And this is probably because, like I said, there are few seats at the table. There isn't equal opportunity. They feel they have to fight one another. So it's like, if I help you, I'm probably gonna lose something too. Like, I can't help you, it's just a lot. And if you felt this, or if you've experienced this, especially if maybe you're in a male dominated industry, for example, I think of things like finance, tech. How is it for you as a woman in that kind of space? Do you feel like you have support from other women, or do you feel like women, you are like your competition and you're at odds with them? Or somehow society has created a space where that dynamic is at play. And Anna kind of pulled on this when she was trying to get in league with these very successful women, like the kind of people you see on Forbes, cover of Time magazines, Women of the Year awards, all this kind of stuff. And she was trying to break into that circle. And it was very challenging for her. And you might argue that, and I was probably being entitled. These women are significantly older than her, and they have paid their dues and they have worked their butts off to get to where they are. And Anna should do the same, and she wants to ride on their coattails to achieve a level of success that she is probably not deserving of. That's an angle, and I respect that. But in as much as she tried to pull that card for her manipulation schemes, we cannot deny that it is not a thing that doesn't exist in our society. So it's definitely something to think about. And I feel it was one of the ways that Netflix tried to humanize Anna's character so that we can feel some level of empathy for her and her struggle. So with that, I am moving on to the struggle of being an immigrant or a foreigner. So that's the second thing I want to speak on. And I feel like this was a struggle that someone like Todd, who was her lawyer, the guy, he really resonated with, as being a child of an immigrant. And this is something that I feel like other immigrants might feel. Again, it's another minority group. You're trying to make it in a place. And again, Netflix is telling this story and pulling on your heartstrings with things like this, because Anna probably figured that she's a nobody, and if she's going to achieve that magnitude of scale of a dream that she wanted to achieve, being a no one, being a foreigner, it's going to be hard. And you hear a lot about immigrants talking about how they feel like they have to work 3 times as hard, yes, not 2 times, as their fellow counterparts, to just feel like they are accorded the same level of respect or seen as, the same level of value. And it can be quite a pressure, and not everyone responds to the pressure in that way. Some people go the route of Anna. I guess that is an argument they're making. And it was one of the reasons why Todd, I think, was very passionate about her case, because he is looking at her and he's seeing himself like, it's tough. She's Russian, she has an accent, she comes from a country where they already look at them in a funny way. Some people might argue that America has some tension with the place, so she had to pretend that she's from Germany and make up all these things, lie that she's an heiress in order to make it work, because it's a lot harder for foreigners. And, again, we can't say that it isn't true. If you've experienced this, if you, in whatever industry you're in, maybe you're probably a student and you felt like this has been the case for you, let us know in the comment section below. It will really help to have a broader perspective on this conversation. Now, I want to talk about the kind of people that were in Anna's circle, the kind of people that Anna used as pawns in her schemes, kind of people she manipulated. And I have to say, when you think about Rachel, you think about Neff, you think about Todd, you think about that first fashion guy that introduced her to the woman whose couch they were sleeping on for like months on Nora, right? this fashion stylist, guys, like the first person I think that Anna really came in contact with. And then there was her boyfriend at the time who was running a startup that she was kind of seeing at the time. And a lot of the things I noticed in these characters, and it's not all of them, some people got into business with Anna for different reasons, but I felt like the people that really stood by her for like the longest of times are people that had certain things I picked up on. They were either very insecure in themselves or they had a lot of self-doubt. And it's something that she can see. You know, people with the kind of traits that Anna has, people that are very exploitative, manipulative, they tend to prey on people like this. Now with the first fashion guy, you can see how he was dying to be Anna's friend because she was an heiress. You know, probably thought contacts, you know, she'd open doors, I could style her, I could become big, whatever it is, possibilities. But there's also this insecurity in the self, and it is very, very obvious. Then Rachel, the person that they said was a wannabe and profited off Anna's story. You can also see there's that level of insecurity in her as well. This wanting to please, wanting to be among, and that kind of thing. With Neff, the girl that wanted to go to film school but was working at that big luxury hotel, there's also that sense of insecurity. She wasn't as passionate. I mean, she says she's passionate about her dreams, but she wasn't really going for it because there was that level of self-doubt. And for people like this, when they have someone like Anna in their lives, it's like it makes them feel better about themselves. You know, she probably felt like Neff, wow, Anna's the real deal. Maybe she'll help me with funding my film somehow. I don't know, if I help her and she makes it, maybe she'll help me. Of course, it's not just all about self-doubt and insecurity. There was also these level of wanting to create a give and take scenario. You know, they were also sort of looking out for themselves. But there are situations where it got really, really bad, and it's very obvious that in this situation, maybe your job is on the line. She's now owing you so much more than you can afford to part away with, and you're now in a very tough situation. And at this point, you can't say it's now about a transaction of I am doing in hopes that she'd help me, because now you're really in a bad spot. And at that point, I feel like it's their insecurity that really comes in, them feeling like they're less than Anna, them feeling like they're worthless, because not worthless like worthless the word, but worthless, two separate words, but like they deserve less because they're not an heiress. They're regular people that just go to day jobs, living lives that they probably don't like. And it's just this very, I don't know, self-deprecating kind of view of the self. And I believe truly that Anna could see that, you know. And in Vivian's case, the reporter as is presented in the story, not the real person, you can see that Vivian also felt like she had something to prove. Okay, there's, even though she's very like driven and go-getter attitude, there's still that element of I need to prove myself, I am not worthy enough. And you know, and Anna can see it. You know, the littlest of comments she would make would really rile Vivian up in a way that she would start like second guessing herself in a way. And that is manipulation, and Anna knows, and Anna uses it to the best of her abilities because it works. Another person that you would say there's that element of wanting to prove themselves was Anna's lawyer, Todd. You know, the kind of treatments that Anna was putting these people through, Neff, Todd, Vivian, these people are literally sticking out their necks, putting it on a chopping block, dying, putting their families at risk, putting their marriage at risk to help this girl that is not paying them. And you're trying to think about what they're getting out of it. This sense of sick loyalty, it stems from somewhere, and I believe that Anna had a very good eye for picking out people that she knew that and had. I feel like Anna did just enough to gain their confidence. For example, in Neff's case, the girl that went to film school and was working at the hotel, she tipped her all the time, $100 bills. Now with people like this is just how they reel you in. You know, they take you on trips. Same thing she did with Rachel. She had been buying her clothes, buying her handbags, taking her shopping, allowing her to use her personal trainer for free. All these benefits, knowing fully well that she was going to collect. Okay, she was going to come to collect later, because these people are people that are riddled with self-doubt, insecurity, and yeah, deep down very insecure people of one thing or the other. They would not be able to stand their ground when she eventually does what she does. I think the only person that had some level of self-respect to be able to lay down boundaries and somehow not let her get the most out of them was her personal trainer. I think she was the only one that was able to do that. She was the only one that could see where this was going too far and was like, no, putting my foot down. I appreciate you and everything, but this is where it ends. You know, and that is really a lesson for all of us. So something we really shouldn't take lightly and we should really look at. Oh, something else I want to talk about, and I feel like this was something that was kind of hinted on in the story by Vivian when she published her article, was that in this world, I mean, it's probably not new, but it's probably a whole lot worse now. Now that we have social media, we have LinkedIn where people can put in their status, their jobs, the kind of places they work, their qualifications. We have Instagram where people can post photos about their lavish lifestyle. There's constant sense of comparison and this hyper awareness of status and what that means in society. And that was something she really wanted people to get out of, that she felt like was lacking in her. Like people did not get that message that we are now so hyper focused on status and image that we completely bypass the importance of integrity. And when I think about this, I immediately think about Simon in Tinder Swindler. If you have seen Tinder Swindler, let me know what you thought about it in the comment section. And if you want me to make a video, let me know, because I do have some thoughts. And I have to say, there's an aspect where there's a lady that gave him money and she didn't really explain her relationship with him, if it was romantic. She made it seem like she was helping out a friend, and she gave him these thousands of dollars and lent him rather. And I'm thinking, I'm sure she has friends in her everyday life that probably not as wealthy as Simon, that have probably asked her for a whole lot less, maybe hundreds, a couple thousands, that she did not help. But she helped Simon because of the illusion of wealth, the illusion of status. And it's really something to think about. You hear it a lot of times. When people appear to be wealthy, it creates this halo effect where people assume that people that look like they are wealthy, or people that are wealthy are good people, are genuine, have good integrity, will keep their word. You cannot assume all of these things just based off on someone's bank account. Seriously, especially in this social media age where you don't really know anyone's bank accounts, you just see the images that they portray on social media. And that is something some will call a loophole that Anna was hyper aware about and exploited. But can you blame her for that? Is that not a function of society? I would say it's a reflection of where we are in this age. That someone like Alan, this big shot lawyer that is billed $2,000 an hour, him and many other people are just willing to sign you up just because you have this appearance of illusion of status, without integrity, and you might want to give Alan a little bit of a leeway because he tried. He did turn her down the first time and she was persistent, and she did her con. She invited all these people to a party, big shot people, and it's like affiliation because she knows this person. Finding it difficult to get that seed funding, finding it difficult to get that bank loan, ridiculous interest rates. The level on the table is just not the same. The inequality is there, and we cannot pretend like it does not exist. Now, I want to talk about briefly about Anna's personality. And I know this is a section I said I will not be covering as much in detail, but there are aspects of this that I felt are worth mentioning. One of which is people have considered whether Anna is indeed a sociopath or someone with NPD. And I'm not in the business of diagnosing anybody. However, there are some traits. Anna does have a very strong sense of entitlement. And you can say it's probably just drive. Some people might say it's drive, that she's just a woman that knows since she was young that she just wanted nice things, she wanted a big life, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it should also be met with the same level of hard work required to make it happen. There's nothing wrong with Anna's idea, dreaming big, but just feeling like you deserve it and then you made up a story that you're an heiress and heiresses deserve that kind of thing. I don't know. There is that sense of entitlement, and you really see it play out in her jury hearing, and an utter disrespect for the people and their time. Like, there's no empathy there. She is keeping the judge waiting just because she doesn't like her outfit. It is unreasonable at this point, and it's something I definitely have to mention. And of course, there's that aspect of manipulation. Anna was very manipulative. You would see her a lot of times. She would fake cry, fake tears to get her way. She'd also use threats of offing herself. I can't say that word on YouTube, but you know what I mean, to get her way with things. She painted her father in different lights, in different narratives. He was either this dictator father that she was trying to get away from to establish herself and get away from himself and his controlling self, or he was this abusive father that she was trying to get away from, and of which we find out that neither of those were true. Anna was also very good at belittling people. She would often make snide comments at Vivian in a way to knock her off balance. Tell her she's looking fat or chubby or all these kind of things, knowing full well she's pregnant, or she would tell her she's terrible at her job, she's not really a great reporter. And these were all manipulation. She did this to Todd, her lawyer, as well, and saying I should have gotten a better lawyer, someone she wasn't even paying. If anything, she's at the mercy of these people, but she doesn't care. There's also that grandiosity with her, the delusions of grandeur, this bigger than life idea that isn't real, and this bigger than life image she's painting, feeling that she is like this exclusive person, the best of the best, and therefore must associate with only people like her. Delusions. And I think what is really interesting, people wonder, is did Anna actually believe her delusions, or was she aware that they were lies? Like when she's telling Neff that, oh, she worked hard for all her money, but she didn't work hard, she just stole from people. And Neff is like, oh, I have to work hard, I have to wake up, I have to go to a job, I have to do this. I can't just chill out like you do because you're an heiress. And she's like, no, I work hard for everything. And we've seen Anna's story. How has she worked hard? Now, Neff would argue that Anna is a really good hustler, like how she was able to get more time from the jail, and she respects that. Like, even if she finds out Anna is not an heiress, the fact that Anna has that drive and that hustle for that thing she wants, that she respects that. And anyone can have drive, but there's a way to go about things, I would say. Stealing from people, manipulating people to get your way, or having other people being like thousands of dollars debt. All this, I don't know how you can justify that, but drive is just not enough. I'm sorry. Now, since this is a mental health channel, I do have to make mention about her mental health, and I do have concerns for that. Someone that could paint this whole thing, what is really going on there upstairs? And there are times where she would just like dissociate, like the time at the hotel where she couldn't pay the bill and she just dissociated and went into like this state, and her then boyfriend Chase had to come and pay the bill and everything. I was really curious, like, what is going on? What's going on with Anna? Like, I hope she's okay. I hope she's fine. All the time she took the pills and tried to off herself and got sent to rehab. And of course, Vivian found out that it was just a ploy because she had no place to stay anymore, and she decided to go to, what do you know, a rich fancy rehab place for rich people. I do have questions about that, and I have to say it's a shame that Netflix did not really give us a lot to go off on. With the little they gave us, it just seems like there is a lot of manipulation. All the time she tried to off herself or threaten to do it, it was fake. And I don't really know if when she entered that state she entered at the hotel, whether she was just acting. Anything at this point is possible with Anna. So unfortunately, I can't comment so much on that. But I do know with things like empathy, entitlement, these traits, these are things you definitely need to work on with the help of a professional. And I would love to see Anna doing that. I really find it concerning that in the video, Vivian asked her if she's sorry, and that's where we find out that there is no remorse. Anna is not sorry about any of the things she did. There is no remorse. I don't know how she feels right now, but going off Netflix, I did see like a video somewhere where she said, oh, she could have gone about it in a different way. But we don't know if this is just image management. I mean, she is coming into the real world now, and she has to answer to these kind of questions. And obviously, she's going to say, I've learned my lesson. I didn't do it right. By the time watching a Netflix show, it seemed as though Anna would do it all over again. Everybody was a pawn in her scheme, and her plan was all that mattered, and what she wanted to do to fulfill that dream was all that mattered, and it didn't matter who got hurt or who she had to use to make it happen. I find it interesting though. I still feel like Anna could have still achieved her dream. It might have taken a longer time, but she could have done it. With that level of drive and commitment, she could have definitely done it. All those hundreds of thousands of dollars that she stole from people, Anna used it to just fund her lifestyle. And someone might say it was part of the plan to keep up that image, to keep up that look. But you hear about a lot of people that do crime just to get enough to start. Anna had more than enough to start, and she could have pivoted, even if it's to something small, until she met that dream. It just goes back to that level of entitlement. She didn't feel like she should work and be in the trenches and do her time and be on that grind like everybody else that's done it. You know, like Oprah, one of the richest women, but she didn't start off that way. She had to pay her dues. Anna wasn't interested in paying her dues. She just felt like she deserved it because she wanted it. And that's where my gripe is. That's where it becomes challenging to say that, okay, well, she had to. When she stole $400,000 from Nora and she spent it on designer clothes, that could have gone to her thing, you know? And it's just something to keep in mind. All right, moving on from Anna's personality, I want to talk about how the concept of shame and how shame silences people. And I'm going to touch on this very briefly. A lot of the rich people that are swindled by Anna did not want to go on the record. They did not want to sue her to court. And she was able to keep on getting away with what she was doing because of shame. People were embarrassed, including Alan, to admit that this young person did this to them. And I know it seems like nothing, but you can think about all the crimes a lot of people have gotten away with, even sex crimes that people are afraid to talk about because of shame, because of embarrassment. And for me, a huge takeaway that was there that I just felt needed to be spoken about was the fact that shame silences people. And I just think about the guy that the late Jeff Epstein swindled. There was this rich guy that was like the CEO of like multinational companies that are like on the same level with like LV and, you know, that whole conglomerate. And this man could not come out loud and say anything. He could not say anything for years because he was ashamed. And it's like the more successful, the more powerful you become and you rise, the more the shame wound grows. It's like you can't just let it get out there that this happened to you. And as a result, a lot of these people get away with it. And it really takes a lot of bravery to be able to come out and say, this happened to me on any level, whether you are famous, rich, successful or not. And I completely empathize with them. It's embarrassing. It is shameful. And it was actually, as I watched it, just in the story was something that I resonated with, and I was like, I have to talk about this. And it's funny because when Todd was making his case and statements as he defended Anna in court, he cited how these rich people were so embarrassed by what Anna did, they just could not talk about it. But I want to talk about it from a place of empathy that for these people, yeah, just because you're rich doesn't mean that they didn't get hurt by what happened. And it's something we need to be aware of. It wasn't a Robin Hood situation. Anna wasn't taking money and giving the poor. She was stealing from people and squandering all the money away, truly. And it hurt them. I'm not really touching on Anna and Chase's relationship, but Anna and Chase, a lot of people might feel this way about how he probably used her, but it does seem like they were using each other. And people might feel like it happens often where a woman is in a business with a man, hoping her own dreams come forward, hoping that I support you and later you support me, and it might not be the case. They just end up being used even by their own partners in that kind of situation. And that's something else I felt like Netflix was trying to touch on. All in all, I felt like the story was really trying to humanize the person that is Anna. As you know, if this is your first time watching my analysis, I'm usually a little bit hesitant on making analysis on real life stories, and this one particularly feels like it happened yesterday. I mean, Anna just got out of serving her time in 2021 last year, so she's still out here in the streets, you know, and this is real life. This is a person, this is a human being, this is not a fictional character, this is an actual person. And there are a lot of lessons here, regardless of what she has done. I feel like Netflix was really trying to humanize her, maybe in hopes of reintroducing her to society in a way. And you know, I think we get to where we ask ourselves the question I posed in the beginning. Do you think that Anna could have done it? I feel like you watch all this and you're wondering if she had gotten that loan, could it have happened? You know, was it just dumb luck? She was unlucky, you know, she happened to be a woman, a foreigner. Some people argue she got as far as she did because she wasn't black, that a black person or a Hispanic or a brown person would not have been able to get as far as she did, and she was lucky. But still, we wonder if Anna got that money, would have saw her dream have come to be with all that drive and everything. But for me, my question is, can she still do it? I mean, she's free, right? If she comes out and she's free and she has this fame and she's able to mingle with Hollywood, we've seen Hollywood accept people that are from jail, that are rich or sensational with open arms, and who knows, she could get funded and make it a dream. I have to say, I am waiting with bated breath, really. I've said a lot about this generation and how it's fraudulent, but I get to see this happen, you know? I get to live through a time with Anna and see how this story ends, because I actually feel like this is just the beginning. Will Anna go back to her old ways? Will she succeed in reinventing herself? And will her dreams come true? Well, with that, I come to the end of this deep dive. I really enjoyed watching this, and I was happy to bring it to you. And I can't wait to hear what your thoughts are on it. And if you like this video, do click the like button, share this video, comment, let me know what you think, join the conversation. As you know, that lets the YouTube algorithm know that you like this kind of content and people like you will like it, and it puts it out there. So let us not exist in our tiny bubble, okay? Let's help the community grow, and I love you guys for it, okay? So until next time, my next video, I will see you, and I love you. Remember, love yourselves too. Bye.